Corsair's released something new, and there's no RGB? It must be Judgment Day. For you keyboard warriors that need a chariot to ride on, this is Corsair's Corsair, the T2 Road Warrior, which sounds kinda like somebody in the marketing department watches too many sci-fi movies. I think I'm okay with that. But enough reminiscing about Arnold Schwarzenegger and post-apocalyptic wastelands, time to take this chair for a spin. From top to bottom, the chair features a tall backrest with a steel frame, curved edges, and a headrest that leans a bit forward covered in a perforated PU leather. But don't worry, it smells pretty nice. Partway down the middle, you'll see some honeycomb-esque stitching patterns and a strip which will be accented in either yellow, red, blue, white, or black, depending on the color you've chosen, and then a nicely stitched Corsair logo around the back. Beneath your perfect posterior, the bucket seat features the same material and aesthetic, but I reserve my previous statement about how the PU leather will smell. That'll depend on your butt. The armrests have a dense padding with a fine line texture and are advertised as 4D, which is not four-wheel drive. We'll talk about that shortly. You've got vertical movement of about 7.62 centimeters or 3 inches with this side trigger, horizontal movement of about 2.54 centimeters or 1 inch with this inner thumb button, forward and back about 5 centimeters or 2 inches with this other thumb button, and a bit of swivel at around 30-ish degrees after applying some governating. Further down, you'll find the tilt tension mechanism, gas lift, and aluminum base supporting up to 136 kilograms or 300 pounds. The gas lift on the right allows for about 8.5 centimeters or 3.3 inches of vertical adjustment, bringing the lowest point of the bucket anywhere from 47 centimeters, 18.5 inches, to about 53 centimeters or 21 inches off the ground. The base allows for about 17 degrees of tilt and the backrest around 170. And finally, anything with this many post-apocalyptic references had better have some industrial construction. But everyone knows that the apocalypse is the definition of not fun. So to balance it all out, Corsair threw on some Rollerblade Wheels. 5 of them to be exact. So when your girlfriend wants to go to United States of America, you can just bring your chair. Optionally, you can also equip the chair with included lumbar and neck pillows wrapped in a soft microfiber fabric. It feels really nice to the touch, but it is cloth, so I wouldn't recommend going shirtless. For the sake of everyone else around you, you should probably keep your pants on too. Constructing the chair was a fairly simple process. All the tools necessary are provided, and the instructions were pretty straightforward. Moving at a brisk pace, the project took less than 20 minutes. I did have some difficulties aligning the backrest to the supports on the seat, but some wiggling and squirming and a little bit of begging and crying eventually got me in the right hole. As usual. And then to neaten those sides up, you're provided with a cover and a little rubber Corsair button plug to round it all off. So time to get in the driver's seat and take the wheel. I immediately noticed the chair was firmer than what I'm accustomed to, but oxygen can still make it through due to the seat's perforation. I never noticed it get too hot, but it is the winter and my opinion may change with the season. Planting my butt in the bucket for an extended period of time, being more than 8 hours, it never got uncomfortable. But if you like a little more cushion, this might not be the best option. The edges of the steel frame are heavily padded, so a variety of sitting styles are still relatively comfortable. The frame is more raised along the front, but less pronounced in the back, so if you like sitting on your foot, you might find positioning it closer to your rear more pleasant. Sitting cross-legged will vary. I found the bucket edges to be pretty restricting, but if you can manage to get your feet to fit in the seat, you should be okay. I found the armrest adjustments to be adequate and the locking functions work pretty well, allowing for easy and smooth motions. The vertical adjustment switch I prefer to be towards the front to more easily adjust with one arm, but otherwise it works pretty okay. Unlike everything else, the swivel adjustment works in 3 definitive steps. I don't hate it, I don't love it, but it works and I don't have any reason to complain. As for the backrest, these little wing things are noticeable around the shoulders when I'm leaning back in the seat, but I actually find the way they hug you to be kind of comforting. They're well padded and leave a little bit of space to wiggle about, but may get in the way if you're really into the thinker pose. The backrest is pretty similar to the seat in firmness, and to me, it almost feels confidence-inspiring, if that makes any sort of sense. The most forward position it allows is what I would consider to be perfect for intense gaming mode, and at 5 feet 9 inches or 175 centimeters tall, the curved top contours to my head nicely when sitting straight up, and as well with support in conjunction with the neck pillow when the seat is more reclined. The foam density there is perfect for me, but on the other hand, the lumbar pillow kinda messes with my mojo, and I found the whole experience to be better without it. The pillow straps in real easy and can be adjusted vertically by simply sliding it around. It doesn't look very high profile, but like the rest of the chair, it's pretty firm. Just a little too firm for my preference. To its credit, it feels really nice to touch, and I often keep it in my lap as a form of stress reliever. In contrast, I love the neck pillow. I believe it's stuffed with a polyester fiber, making it incredibly squishy, and can be positioned in one of 2 ways, by either strapping it through the neck holes or sliding it over the top. The lower of the 2 positions is ever so slightly too tall for me, but that's because I'm short. I blame Asian genes. There is a sheet inside for keeping the stuffing from falling out if you open it up, which does make an audible crinkling if you play around with it, but not if you're using it for its intended purpose. And finally, let's take a trip back to the 90s. On tile or wood surfaces, the rollerblade wheels work great. On carpet, it can be a bit of a flop. When you've already got your direction established and started, this chair slides more easily than any others I own. However, when you're starting up in a different direction, the way the wheels swivel in that moment cause a bit of resistance, and if you're partaking in some edge of your seat content, it just may trip you up instead. In general, I like them, but they're not perfect. So my overall conclusions are as follows. If you like firm chairs and racing style seats, this is probably for you. The seat itself isn't uncomfortable, but it's not my favorite either. The stiffness makes it feel a little flat, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, and the bucket-style edges do contour pretty nicely. The adjustable features are more than enough for me, and the build quality feels pretty darn sturdy. The lumbar pillow is a little too aggressive for my taste, it's pretty firm, and the shape doesn't quite contour to my back as much as I'd prefer, but my mother likes it, so maybe you will too. The neck pillow, on the other hand, is really soft, and if the lumbar pillow were an average between the two, my experience would likely be much better. The backrest density and cushioning is perfect for me, being on the stiffer side, similar to the seat, and if you're the type of person who rolls without a lumbar pillow and likes scooting all the way back into the chair, I think you'll really like it. The side wings might be a little hit or miss. While they are padded, they're also a bit prominent compared to other seats I've put my butt in, so you will notice them touching your arms when you're leaning back. $400 isn't exactly cheap, but if you like a firm push on your tush, Corsair's T2 Road Warrior will have your back and your butt. Interpret that as you will. And so that's all I have to say about that. Like, dislike, comment, subscribe, share, leave me questions if you got them. Thanks for watching. My name is Steven and I am ALittleDIMM. Bye-bye. Corsair's released something new, and it's... I already messed up. The armrests have a densely... Constructing the chair was am I saying that right? Constructing. The edges of the steel frame are relatively, heavily. What? How did I confuse heavily with relatively? They're not even the same There's a pimple on my nose? You might find positioning it closer to your rear. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't really like anything near my rear. You might find positioning it closer to your... You might find positioning it closer to your rear more pleasant. I felt so triumphant for some reason. These little wing things are noticeable around the shoulders when I'm leaning back in the seat, but I actually find the way they hug you to be kind of comforting. Which, upon deeper reflection, sounds pretty sad. It almost feels confidence-inspiring, unlike my speech patterns, which are kind of awful. And I often keep it in my lap as a form of stress reliever. Stress reliever? Is that what I said? Because that'd be wrong.